about Fortnite.
Yeah, and I thought we were going to escape the Star Wars Fortnite thing in general, because one of the guys that we play Battlefront with, Monty, was like, guys, it's just like Battlefront.
It
And I
is
was like-
not. It's not.
But it's Fortnite. And I have
It's just like Battlefront, but with more preteens.
Ew. You say that, it just makes it smell like a high school locker room. God. Right.
Sharing?
Yes, now I have West Side Story stuck in my head.
There are worse things to have in your head.
That's true. And West Side Story this has nothing to do with Star Wars if you're listening into our little pre-show here, but Leonard Bernstein wrote West Side Story to great acclaim, ended up writing Candide to much less acclaim.
Mm-hmm.
However, is a really amazing like opera that he wrote. And
Very funny.
it is. It's hilarious. It's just, I don't think people understood it because they're not, people in general are very stupid.
Blue Sky?
Oh, right.
To the left. I think. Unless you moved it. Yep, there it is.
No, you're right. Boop. All right. Shall we? Let's go.
We shall.
Welcome back to Jedi Enclave. I am Daniel.
I'm Chris.
And this is the Jedi Enclave Presents. Now, this is Podcast, our weekly podcast about Star Wars, not Star Wars, nerdy things we enjoy, things you probably enjoy. And the things that you don't enjoy, that's fine. We don't really care. They're things that we enjoy. And we are here, of course, with not a lot of Star Wars to talk about this week.
Well, in fairness, probably the best Star Wars since The Empire Strikes Back just got over with.
I would argue since The Last Jedi.
Okay.
Which, come at me, I don't give a fuck. If you come at me over The Last Jedi, I just do not give a fuck. I would say since The Last Jedi.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
I would say so first of all, we need to re-rank these.
Yeah.
And we need to do our Rogue One watch along.
Yes,
and
definitely.
While I do adore Rogue One, I think that out of Rogue One and then the 2 seasons of Andor, Rogue One is probably my least favorite. Not to say that it wasn't amazing, because I really enjoy that movie. But there was something really special about Andor season 1 and 2, and I also saw Tony Gilroy on I think it was Seth. Whatever late night Seth, what's his name, does.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. And it was really interesting because like Tony Gilroy isn't a Star Wars fan really at all. He's just like, I'm going to write a good story, like regardless.
It just happens to involve Star Wars.
Right. And I know that Star Wars fans in the past have thought of that as some weird prerequisite. Like, for example, Star Wars Theory has this thing about how only Star Wars fans should write for Star Wars. And it's like, you understand that most Star Wars fans are just shit writers. Like, you read some of the fan fiction or like some of these AI videos where they do these really saccharine, mopey scenes between, Anakin and he's apologizing to Obi-Wan or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the dialogue sucks. It's so bad. And it's like, that's not what we want in Star Wars. And I like that Tony Gilroy was like, no, good story first, then it's in the Star Wars universe. Mm-hmm. And we're not relying on any of the legacy characters to carry the story. We're not relying on cameos and all this other stupid shit. All of the stuff that
because the only legacy character was Mon Mothma, right?
I wouldn't even say that she's a legacy character.
That's true. She has like 2 lines about how many Bothans died to bring us these plans.
She's a character from that era, but I wouldn't say she's a legacy character, right? Which is funny because they turned Mon Mothma into a much more interesting character than she ever was before. Yeah. So, hats off to them. We got onto this thing because Andor is over,
and we're just kind of waiting for the next bit of Star Wars
which is
news?
in like a year. Like the next live action Star Wars thing is in like a year, so I don't know what the fuck we're gonna do. But yeah,
speculate wildly about Ryan Gosling.
right, yeah. But anyway, we are talking about. There is some Star Wars news today, or there's one Star Wars news thing that's really, really aggravating. We're talking about.
So stupid.
We're also talking about The Last of Us Season 2, Episode 6, and then I got the chance to play and stream the Star Wars Outlaws DLC titled A Pirate's Fortune. And so I played through that on stream, and was what? Let's start with that.
Okay.
So I got to
play. This is the one with Hondo, right?
Yes, and so I downloaded the DLC and shit, played it. I was surprised at. So obviously, it's a new story module.
Yeah.
Right. Which everyone expected. What I was not expecting was how many game fixes and quality of life fixes they were bringing to the game. That makes the game a lot more fun to play. For example, like Kay, the main character Kay, has a really good blaster pistol.
Yeah.
And really, it's the only weapon you need. Like, that you need.
Yeah.
But it isn't the only weapon that you want, right?
Okay.
Because you can pick up different guns from different people. And you can, those big, like, shielded motherfuckers with the heavies.
Yeah.
Like, you can pick those things up. And before, like, some of the smaller arms, you'd pick them up and you'd shoot them and stuff, but the second you interacted with something, like, so the second you climbed up a ladder, or went into a cutscene or something, that you would just drop that weapon. And so you could only use it in the area where you picked it up, which was always...
Seems not great.
It infuriated me, and they fixed that. So Kay now, like, straps it to her back.
Oh, cool.
And just carries it around with her. They did a bunch of, like, bug fixes. You can shoot while you're on your speeder.
Oh, neat.
Like, you can free aim while you're on your speeder. Yeah. Before you could only do, like, the adrenaline power up where you, like, tag enemies and then there's, like, an animation and shit.
So I have to ask, because this was a big point when the game first came out. How much stealth is there in the DLC? Like, how many times are you encouraged, or... Because I know they removed the required stuff. How much are you encouraged to be stealthy?
There are a couple of spots where, like, there's a line of dialogue where it's like, oh, well, we probably should be sneaky. But I am the kind of player that almost instantaneously ignores those instructions and just starts shooting. Yeah. Because it's like, I can get out of any situation. Yeah. Like, it's a fucking video game. It's not that big of a deal. So there are moments where, like, they've kind of come to a good spot in the game where if stealth gameplay is the thing you do, there are great opportunities to get through entire areas of the game, in fact most of it, without having a head-on war with like half the characters on that map or whatever. Yeah. On the other side, they do allow players like me to be like, we're just gonna go and shoot.
I'm just gonna start shooting.
Yeah. So it was a pleasure seeing Hondo Anaka again from Clone Wars and Rebels fame. Portrayed by the same voice actor, and you follow kind of a typical. You're on a pirate's hunt, to find some old pirate treasure.
Gotta find the booty.
Yep. There is a data pad entry that mentions At-Atten, which is kind of fun.
And can't say I've heard of no At-Atten.
Yeah. No, we're not trying to find At-Atten, but it's just mentioned, and then. I found a random data pad that was from Ochi of Bastoon. Oh. Which I was like...
That's a fun
That's a name I've not heard in quite a long time, actually.
Name I've not heard since...
So...
I mixed quotes there. Anyway, continue.
We knew what you meant. Mm-hmm. You fucking Philistine. So the story's cool. It's longer than I expected. I think it took me a little more than 3 hours to complete, which I think the Sabak... DLC before this wasn't really that long, and honestly, you don't play a bunch of sabak in it either, which kind of pissed me off.
Sacrilege.
And the end is scripted. So, like, when you finally get a hand that beats Lando, it triggers an event, and you don't actually get to win the game. And it's like, do you understand what my personality type is? I need to win that fucking game. Like, I need to win the Sabacc game, goddammit. It's cool. The other thing included in the DLC is an entire new system that you can fly to with an entire new map. I'm pretty sure I haven't gotten it yet, but I'm pretty sure you can get another ship as well. Another type of ship that has like different fire modes, which I'm going to be checking out. There's a whole new list. So before the DLC came out, I went and 100% the achievements on it. Which I had all of them but one done anyway. So I spent like 30 minutes and like buckled down and did this last one. And then I opened the game up and I opened up my achievements panel to brag about how I would 100% of the game.
And you're at like 40%.
There's a bunch more now. So now I have to go do those too. So anyway, if you're into Star Wars Outlaws, if you're thinking about buying it, I found it quite enjoyable. And if it's the kind of like if you've got the money that you won't, like if you don't need to pay rent or anything, and you've got the however much money it is to spare, I mean it was well worth it for me. So check it out if you wish. Christopher says, "May the Force be with you, Daniel and Chris. I hope you're both having a good night. Thank you for your awesome Star Wars content and other great story content." Thank you, Chris.
Very kind of you to say.
You're a good guy. You're one of the good ones. You're not like some of the people that mad react our Battlefront videos for reasons I just don't understand.
Dude, it's Battlefront. What could they possibly be angry
I don't know.
about?
I messaged one of them. And I know it's a little ridiculous because they're probably just bots, but like it really bothered me. And so I found their profile and I was like, "Why'd you mad react our Battlefront video?" And then they read it and they never answered.
That was probably a bot then.
Jesus.
At least have the guts to defend your mad reacts.
By the way, if you've not followed us on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitch, Discord, or Blue Sky, go and do that. On Sunday, I forgot to mention this at the top of the show. Sunday at 7. Well, so tomorrow we're doing Battlefronts. Sunday at 7, we're doing Gungans and Dragons, which we are in our season 2. It will be our 41st episode.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's been a long time, and finally, after 40 episodes, my plan to take over the crew is complete, and I am now in command. Which, by the way, was not a result of anything that I had planned or anything.
No, your captain just got murked.
Very abruptly, blasted on the spot by a ship-mounted cannon. The only thing we found, the next episode, the only thing we found was his jacket and his hat and whatever organic material was left on the jacket. That was the only thing that was left of him.
Well, damn.
So, but I did give a rousing speech at the captain's, the former captain's funeral, and I've taken command of the ship, and we are this Sunday we are on our way back into dangerous pirate shit. So come and check that out if you're into tabletop RPGs. Let's talk about something kind of gross.
Oh God.
So first of all, Fortnite. And look, if you're at home and you're like, "Hey, fuck you, I like Fortnite."
Good for you.
That's actually fine.
Fantastic.
And if you're like the 2% of our fan base that are like teenagers, because I don't think we appeal very much to teenagers.
We're too like level-headed
and intelligent. Yeah, I know.
Not even necessarily that, but like we talk about things we like rather than things that get people angry.
Yeah, we don't do a lot of rage baiting, which is funny because I'm like rage baiting Fortnite right now. So famously, if you're a Star Wars fan, you know right now that Fortnite is doing this Star Wars tie-in with a bunch of characters,
which
and
includes AI-powered Darth Vader, who can join your squad and walk around talking to you. This was a bad idea for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is that you can trick Darth Vader into saying slurs.
Yeah. By the way, this is a predictable problem.
Yes.
There's no way that like the folks that wrote Fortnite were like, one of these teens that plays our game is gonna find out how to make Vader say the N-word. Mm-hmm. Like, you know that conversation happened somewhere.
I hope it happened somewhere, because the alternative is that they displayed a shocking level of naivete, both about the limits of their technology to limit what AI Darth Vader is going to say, and also what teenagers are capable of doing.
Yeah.
Because teenagers famously are shitheads.
Yeah, I work with teenagers for a living as a teacher. They suck, and I hate them. I hate them so much. So yeah, this should have been seen. They should have seen this coming quite a while ago. But SAG-AFTRA, famously the actors union,
Screen Actors Guild, and some other shit.
and then filed a labor complaint over the AI Darth Vader in Fortnite. It was
Basically saying that, hey, all these other games and other media have found non-James Earl Jones actors to voice Darth Vader.
Oh,
so why didn't you just do that?
Some to not great effect, by the way. We were just talking about Outlaws. Spoilers for the main story of Outlaws. Darth Vader makes a very shoehorned appearance in the story. And the voice actor is not good. Maybe I'll play the scene for you later. And I'm not sure if it is AI or not, or if it was just someone. I don't know what the deal was, but he doesn't sound good. But is it preferable to give a voice actor that doesn't sound a bunch like James Earl Jones a paying gig, or is it better to hire or to generate it via AI? And the obvious answer is you hire the fucking voice actor, right? And if he doesn't do a great job, and you're not pleased with the result, don't use him again. Hire a different there are tons of voice actors out there, right? So the fact that this even exists is kind of insane and disgusting anyway.
If I'm going to put on my amateur video game designer hat for a moment, I think what they wanted was the fact that you could talk to Vader and like use your microphone and say things to him.
Yeah. And
he would generate AI responses.
Well, then they should have hired a voice actor for every player session. Which I'm now thinking about. Would have been hell for the voice actors to hang out with these teenage boys on Fortnite all day.
Like,
at least they would have known not to say the N-word.
That they would have. Yes.
Is all I'm saying.
Anyway, this entire thing is a trash fire and was a terrible idea from the beginning.
Right. And yeah, that's all there really is to say about it. A couple of trailers this week that I saw that caught my interest. One of them is a film we'll be seeing
reluctantly,
like fairly soon. Jurassic World, the next one, or I can't remember exactly what
the one that comes after the one
Dominion
with Super Mario guy.
Jurassic World, the dinosaurs continue, or you mean Chris Pratt?
Yeah. Jurassic Park.
You mean Andy Dwyer from Parks and Rec is what you mean? Yeah,
I meant Mario, but yeah,
like rugged Andy Dwyer, pretty much.
Jurassic Park. This is the one with all the dinosaurs that were too dangerous to put in the other park.
Which is what they say about every single one of these fucking movies. They're like, oh, they're just like the other.
We
dinosaurs.
have to raise the stakes even higher.
These are more. These are the super secret dangerous ones. This movie looks so fucking dumb.
It looks really bad.
And look, we were just talking about how we don't like to rage bait, and there are very limited examples. Rebel Moon, for example, will shit all over Rebel Moon.
Because that movie is trash. Both those movies are so fucking bad. Yeah. And if you think there's any redeeming feature about them whatsoever, your head is so far up Zack Snyder's ass that I want to know how you live on that little oxygen.
How do you breathe up there? we need to know. This movie does. Look, I am open to being surprised. Very well could be. And you know what? I remember the first Jurassic Park soft reboot that Colin Trevorrow did.
Was this one of the Chris Pratt ones?
It was the first Chris Pratt one. Okay. And you know what? It was serviceable. It had some good moments in it. I was entertained.
This movie has Scarlett Johansson, right?
Yeah, which
she's all right.
Yeah, I mean, is she all right? It's got the guy from Wicked who played Fiyero.
Oh yeah,
he's in it.
He was pretty good.
I don't know. It's like, oh, the dinosaurs are bigger. I bet the raptors are going to be smarter somehow.
I think I once sent you this video of famous Australian musical comedian Tom Cardy about the Jurassic Park movies, right?
Perhaps.
I'll show you again afterwards. But everyone at home, pause this stream for a second. Go to YouTube, type in Tom Hardy Jurassic Park, and just watch that.
Yeah, it's not ringing a bell now, but it's probably something I'll watch.
It's good. Anyway.
So we're going to go see that movie when it comes out. We'll have a review for you afterwards, and we'll all get through it together. It'll be fun. And if it's a great movie, we'll be the first to say we were wrong. Yeah, you know. The other thing I am extraordinarily excited is that they are doing a TV series on HBO based on Stephen King's story, It. And let me tell you a quick story about like 8-year-old me that should not have been allowed to watch the original miniseries because that movie or that miniseries scared the fuck out of me. And I'm not looking back when you watch it now. It's so goofy and zany that you're like, how could you have ever been like? They had Tim Curry playing the clown, and you know that was a comedic choice because Tim Curry is a brilliant comedic actor. But it scared the shit out of me and had me terrified of clowns for a while.
I mean, clowns are already pretty terrifying when you're like a kid,
right?
So fucking.
Now they ended up rebooting this several years ago, within the last 10 years, I feel, featuring a cast of fantastic child actors. Finn Wolfhard, the kid that would end up being in Stranger Things, Jack Dylan Grazer, who's also really good, and a couple of others, with Bill Skarsgård playing Pennywise the clown, and he is terrifying. Like, this is not a Tim Curry Pennywise thing. It is really scary. And
I'm assuming Bill Skarsgård is some relation to Stellan Skarsgård?
Yes.
Okay.
I think they're all related. Stellan Skarsgård's like Daddy Skarsgård. And then, because there's like the one Skarsgård that was in Succession.
The patriarch of the Skarsgård clan.
Right, yeah. Now, the tone changed a little bit. It is still like a scary thriller. But they leaned more heavily into the coming of age themes as well, which actually made parts of the movie really sweet and a lot of fun. And I really love. There's my favorite part of that film is Jack Dylan Grazer's character, who is in the film, like the group's like potty mouth, right?
Yeah.
And they're down in the sewers, or they're fighting the clown and shit. And the clown's very good at manipulation, and he's like trying to like pit them against each other, and they have the clown in a weakened state. And Jack Dylan Grazer picks up this pipe and he says to the main character, "Motherfucker, you drug me down and this fucking sewer, and I've been chased by clowns and lepers and all this shit that I really hate.
I'm mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take it anymore."
And then he ends it with, "And now you're gonna make me kill this motherfucking clown." And he just starts wailing on the clown. It's fucking great. It's that kind of movie, right? So HBO's doing a TV series in the same continuity, or at least like the same property, based on Stephen King's story. It isn't clear to me right now if it's set in the same literal continuity as like the newest films, where like those characters and those actors actually end up existing at one point.
I would assume so, but
it's set in the 60s in Derry, which every Stephen King film ever, or story ever, is in some tiny little New England town, usually in Maine. And
he has the same deal as H.P. Lovecraft, where everything takes place in New England. And all the kids have abusive parents. All their lives really suck, and they're all bullied. And it's Stephen King. He's got kind of an MO. Which, by the way, don't ever read the book that it's based on. Yeah, there's a really weird sequence in there that's really uncomfortable. Right?
Yeah, it's very strange. We probably actually shouldn't even mention it because it might get us in trouble.
Just like we shouldn't say, don't ever Google the name of H.P. Lovecraft's cat. Bad idea. Just don't do it. Just take my word for it. Don't do it. Daniel,
you can't say that.
That's why you shouldn't Google it.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty gross. Yikes.
Yeah.
Well, moving on from that. Anyway, I think this comes out this fall, I think, or something.
It's something like that.
Yeah, we'll probably watch it. This is the kind of thing. It's one of those, like, first of all, HBO usually puts out like pretty high quality shows, and this is in that like niche that we kind of like, where it's like there are actually weird sci-fi elements to it, but also has the potential of being like a really compelling story. So I'm actually kind of excited about it. All right, shall we move on?
I think it's time to talk about The Last of Us.
Yeah, to The Last of Us, Season 2, Episode 6. Let's do spoiler-free real quick, and then we'll move on from there. What do you think?
Would you like to express your vindication first?
No, I'm going to save it for the right moment so I can say I told you so. Not that you ever argued with me or that you ever disagreed, but I was correct about a little head theory, and I want everyone to know about it.
This was
okay, I can't wait.
Okay.
I had said... that so in a previous episode this is spoilers though.
Okay, we'll hold off on it for just a second. This was the first episode where I realized how much Ellie says the word fuck. Like she says fuck a whole lot in this episode.
She's got a dirty mouth in the game too.
Let's see what else.
It's kind of a part of her charm. She's very it's funny how like Joel's daughter originally was actually very sweet and like didn't curse at all.
Very well behaved, mild mannered.
Yes, like he trusted her enough to leave her at home while he was at work.
And then he gets stuck with Ellie, who's
not really like his daughter at all. But I think that's kind of beautiful, though, right? That
but she is his daughter,
right? Exactly.
Yeah.
And he found this. He found someone else to love like that. Because I think that Joel is a dad at heart. You know, it's one of the reasons that
this episode portrays that very clearly.
Yeah. Oh, and he makes some common mistakes that lots of fathers make. And we'll get to that. But also, I think this kind of shows like his relationship with Dina. He very clearly is a dad, like to the bone, right? And he like, I think Pedro Pascal delivered an Emmy-worthy performance at the end of this episode.
Absolutely. The last scene is just incredible acting.
Yeah. I know that there are a bunch of the chuds online are real mad at Bella Ramsey still because she identifies as non-binary.
Get the fuck over it.
I don't. And they like to comment on her physical appearance.
Get the fuck over it.
And it's like, I'm sorry that the 15-year-old girl in the story wasn't fuckable enough for you, but like, what the fuck, man?
Like, you're on the internet. There's no shortage of porn. Go jack off before you watch the show, okay?
Jesus Christ. They're just fucking disgusting, too. Like I think most of them must be bot accounts because it like
almost certainly.
I buy into the dead internet theory probably a little too much. But like you go to any comment thread that mentions The Last of Us even a little bit, and you're gonna get a bunch of really disgusting shit about Bella Ramsey.
Oh, so you mean like the comments of this video right now?
Probably, yeah. Since we like a thing, we're suddenly pedophiles or whatever. Because that's the only insult you'll have. Like so you go from 0 to pedophile so fast that it like it's not even a shocking insult anymore. It's just like, oh, Chris, another guy called us pedophile online. Also,
good time to remember, whenever you're dealing with right-wing trolls, every accusation is a confession.
Yes, absolutely. So, what were we talking about? Pedro Pascal is amazing. Yes. Bella Ramsey's amazing. And
this episode was just really good writing that allowed the two of them to bounce off each other for a while.
Yeah, we get a little bit more from Catherine O'Hara, which was always a pleasure. Yeah, it's always great with her and everything. We learn a little bit more about the Eugene thing. I think the whole episode is good, and it's I think it was a good palate cleanser to take a step back from the Seattle storyline
where Ellie had just gotten done torturing and killing a woman.
And I think that they're like, okay, Ellie just tortured and killed a woman.
Sent her to the Backstreet Boys reunion tour in particularly grotesque fashion.
We might want to show the audience why they're rooting for her again.
Yeah!
Because they might have forgotten. Yeah. And that's the whole point of the story is that Ellie's actions in the game are not heroic. Joel's actions at the Firefly Hospital aren't heroic. He was not a hero when he did what he did.
They're comprehensible.
Yeah.
Relatable to an extent, and like you understand where he's coming from. Like,
but
I want to come back to this when we get into the spoilers because I have a overarching view of Joel here.
Well, speaking of spoilers,
okay,
do you just want to go straight to that?
I think we should.
Okay.
So we open in 1983
in Austin, Texas. Which, to be fair, if you're going to be in Austin, or if you're going to be in Texas,
Austin's the place to be.
Austin's one of the good places, because as we all know, there are lots of parts of Texas that are real gross, and Austin isn't one of them. We see Joel and Tommy as teenagers. And
well, Joel's a teenager. Tommy strikes me as being a little bit younger than that.
He's probably like junior high.
11, 12, yeah.
So we find out that Tommy was buying weed and got into a fist fight. I said a firefight. He's a little too young for that.
Yeah.
And it's a detail that they're sure is going to get back to their father.
Yes.
And Tommy is afraid of getting the belt, which, by the way, I'm going to save that for, I have a note about this a little bit later.
Joel's like, no, don't worry about it. I'm going to take the fall. You just fucking go up to your room. Right. I'll deal with it.
So we meet Joel and Tommy's father, who is played by the brilliant Tony Dalton. Who
I saw him. I thought, holy fuck, it's fucking Jacques, the
guy from the MCU,
the fencer from the MCU.
My introduction to Tony Dalton was in Better Call Saul, which is a brilliant spin-off series of Breaking Bad, and the character that he plays is so charismatic and so dangerous, and I don't know how he manages to be all these things and like disarmingly sexy, and
I think he's naturally charismatic.
Yeah,
and he does a really good job of acting the dangerous part.
Yeah,
because like that seems to be weaved into a lot of his roles.
Yeah, I should show you some clips from Better Call Saul. He plays a character called Lalo Salamanca, and he is absolutely brilliant. He's one of the best parts of the show. So I was stoked to see him. So it turns out that
he's a cop or sheriff's deputy or something.
He's a police officer. Yeah.
Yep.
So like the getting the belt thing tracks.
Yeah.
By the way, I say that as a man whose entire family on one side or the other were all cops, all military. Some of them both. One of them was a Secret Service agent. Like, I think I've earned the right to shit talk some of this, like this is me
call it as you see it,
right? So Joel tries to take responsibility for Tommy's actions.
Well, first off, their dad comes back and he's like, dude, did you seriously think I wouldn't find out what happened?
Yeah,
like
they called the cops.
Yes,
I'm the fucking cops. Like, of course I was gonna figure this out.
Even if it wasn't me that got called in, my friends would have, like, your name would have leapt off the page and they would have called me and I would have found out then. So I talked to the guy that you beat up and I talked to everyone else, and seriously, what the fuck were you guys doing? Like,
also, you're lucky to not be in juvie right now.
Yes.
Like, if it weren't for my position, you would be in jail right fucking now. Which, by the way, this also really tracks for Tommy. Because you might remember in the first episode, the story kind of kicks off because Tommy gets arrested at a bar, and Joel has to go pick him up.
Yeah.
So Dad goes to the fridge. He grabs a couple beers. He gives one to Joel.
Pops them both open. Slaps them on the table.
I like that that look. Which, by the way, I had a moment very similar to this with my father when my brother died, who died in combat in Afghanistan. And when I went home for the service and everything, I was in college at the time. He put 2 glasses out and put like a healthy measure of scotch in each one and handed one to me, and I was like, really? Like, because I had been shit-faced drunk before,
you were in college, of course,
but never in front of my dad have I ever like had any alcohol or anything. Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, I'm an adult now. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So he has a moment like that where he like they open a couple beers, and he tells this story about when he was younger, he stole a candy bar, and his dad caught him, and he refers to him as grandpa because that's how Joel would, and he was forced to return it and apologize to the cashier. And when they got back home, his dad hit him so hard that it broke his jaw, and he had to have his jaw wired shut for months. And like he was like, my mom thought I was dead. Like there was so much blood.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that stuck out to him was that he was so ashamed because everyone knew why his mouth was wired shut. And it was this great source of shame for him. And there's this heartbreaking moment where he says, I've hit you, I've hit Tommy, but nothing like that, not even close. Maybe I've gone a little too far. I don't know. But I'm doing a little better than my father did. And it's such a difficult subject to tackle.
And he doesn't stop there. He says, maybe someday when you have kids, maybe you'll do a little better than I did.
Right, yeah, I had that in my notes. But I've got to kind of commend the show for tackling this because it's just as I'm going to give a quick content warning about child abuse. I don't feel like I'm speaking out of turn here. Also being a victim of physical, psychological, and sexual child abuse. Not by my father, by the way. Like tackling this kind of thing is really hard. And there is never a situation where hitting a kid is the best solution. There is no situation. And like if you can't outsmart a kid without committing violence against them, maybe you shouldn't have kids. And what I hear a lot is, oh, well, my parents, hit me with a belt when I was a kid and I turned out just fine.
No, you didn't,
it's
because
like,
you think hitting children is okay.
It's like, oh, did you turn out okay? Because I don't think you did. And that's the other thing too, is that, and it's the point, it's kind of the point that his father was making that we'll hear echoed by Joel later on, which is you cannot parent like your parents parented, because everyone's bad at it, right? Particularly in America, America produces some very terrible parents, and like every parent scarred them in some way or another. You could have the most perfect parents in the world, and they fucked you up in some way, right? Mm-hmm. That is just kind of a fact.
Ways that you might never even realize.
Right. And ways that they didn't mean to either. Yeah. Like it wasn't malicious or anything.
Like, even if your parents never hit you, never abused you in any way, there's still some things that they did that fucked you up,
right? That
you probably don't even realize.
Yeah. So, of note here in this scene, Tony Dalton's performance is obviously absolutely amazing. And he chooses like this perfect moment to tear up and everything. Mm-hmm. And you can tell that their dad is not an evil man. He's not a bad guy, and he's probably not even a bad father. He's kind of doing the best that he can, because I don't think we know anything about Joel and Tommy's mother. Mm-hmm. So I kind of got the vibe that he was a single father, kind of trying to do the best that he could,
He's starting from what he knows, which is how his father acted, right. And he's trying to be a little bit better.
And the fact that he is cognizant enough to know that that's something he has to break out of is actually a credit to him as a person, right? He puts a hand on Joel's shoulder as he's walking away, and we see on his dad the watch that he would eventually wear, that his daughter was going to fix up before the outbreak, that was broken when she died, mm-hmm. and that he wears everywhere. And it also kind of gives you just a huge kick in the fucking balls when Tommy visited Joel's body after he died and saw his wrist when he's cleaning his arm, and just kind of had that moment where he saw it and had an emotional moment. So I think this episode also, the stuff that we've learned from this, I'm pretty sure they're laying the groundwork for Tommy to show up in Seattle.
Well, we already know Tommy's in Seattle. We just haven't seen him yet. Because he and Jesse went there together.
Because Jesse said that.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. No, you're right. Okay. I forgot that, and I was right anyway. So, fast forward a couple months after Joel and Ellie arrive.
A couple years.
No.
So years from Austin, but a couple months after they arrive.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so we're just a couple of months after Joel and Ellie arrive at Jackson. Joel pays a visit to Seth, the homophobic bartender of the Tipsy Bison. Mm-hmm. Joel trades a bag of Legos for that he found in a house, mm-hmm. For something. We don't know what it is. We found out that Seth was a cop from Milwaukee, so his whole aura also kind of tracks.
Yeah.
It also, I think, Joel finding out that he's a cop, I think it reminded him of his father a little bit, which I think is probably why he had the instinct to do what he did to Seth at the New Year's Eve party to defend Ellie. Yeah. And also probably Dina. Let's not lie, because Dina's precious, and if anyone hurts her, I'll kill them. Figuratively, YouTube, not literally.
In a video game.
Yeah. So Joel sneaks a bone into his house, and I don't think it's a human bone. I sure do hope not.
No.
And he's got that woodworking hobby.
Yeah.
So he carves this bone into this little piece for the guitar. I don't play guitar. I don't know what bit that was.
It's like on a violin, it would be the bridge. It's the thing that elevates the strings a
little
bit. So you can
okay. So, and he uses a Dremel to carve a moth into the fretboard, and he does that because he
knows Ellie likes moths.
She's got a thing for moths, and he doesn't really understand why, but he's like, she likes it, so that's
sure.
Fine.
Put it in there.
Tommy brings Ellie home, and she's burned her arm on a boiling pot in the kitchen, conveniently right where her bite mark is. Mm-hmm. And she's kind of out of her mind because she's on pain meds. And I swear to God, we find out that reason that she joked around with Dina earlier about wanting to wear short sleeves.
It's real.
That's literally the reason. She just wanted to wear short sleeves again.
God.
She's so impulsive.
The impetuousness of youth.
Yeah. So the next morning, Ellie comes downstairs to Joel's birthday surprise, and
Joel's like, "God damn it, Seth!" Because what he had traded those Legos for was a birthday cake,
right?
Which Seth made and then frosted "Happy Birthday, Eli," because apparently he doesn't know how to spell.
He's a dumbass and doesn't know how to spell. Was anyone surprised that Seth doesn't know how to spell? Not a single person. So there's this hilarious moment where Joel turns for a knife to cut the cake.
Cut the cake, and Ellie's just grabbing
when he turns
hands.
back. And this is another one of those things that Bella Ramsey sells so well, where she has this handful of cake and a mouthful of
smeared on her face, and it's just grinning.
And does this really funny grin. I'm serious. If you come after Bella Ramsey, you'll have to go through me. She's an incredible actor. I love her. Joel gives her the guitar. But she doesn't know. So the plan is that he's going to teach her how to play it. Yeah. She doesn't know how to play it, so she says, "Hey,
it's like fucking play and sing for me. It's my birthday. Right. You have to."
And I like how Joel's like, "Oh, I'm not really a singer," and she's like, "Motherfucker,
nope, fucking
just
sing."
Yeah. And he plays Pearl Jam's Future Days, which is this huge moment from the game that happens in a slightly different part of the story, but it doesn't really matter. Yeah. And the lyrics are more or less about like the fear of loss and what it could drive someone to do. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of an overarching
strangely prescient.
Right. Yeah. So 1 year later,
yes,
Joel is leading Ellie through the woods for her 16th birthday party. And she there's this really funny bit where she tries to guess what it is. Mm-hmm. Because she's like, is it a dinosaur? Is it this? Is it a litter of kittens? And Joel's like, the fuck is a litter? Do you mean a litter of kittens? And she's like, I don't have cats, motherfucker. I don't know. Outbreak Day happened, and then I was a kid born without the internet. I don't know shit.
Yeah. Also, didn't really pay attention in school because it was boring.
Right. Yeah. So there's this really funny moment where Joel asks Ellie about Jesse, because they're spending a lot of time together, and he has an eye for these kinds of things, mm-hmm. which we know, and obviously Ellie knows that she's a lesbian. So we're just like, Joel, my brother.
Joel, come on, man.
You are not as finely attuned to this as you think you are. And she makes him a deal. She says, I promise I won't get pregnant if you let me go on patrols, which is really funny because that's a deal that Ellie knows she can fucking win.
Yeah.
Right? And so there's this whole thing about like Joel doesn't want to go on patrols because it is dangerous and shit. They stumble across a giant T-Rex, which is again straight from the game. Yeah. And Ellie absolutely loses her shit thinking that's her.
Holy shit, it's a dinosaur! Yeah. She fucking climbs up the T-Rex.
Which by the way, Joel's like, oh my god,
what the fuck?
Don't fall down. So when she's up on the T-Rex, she sees a museum. Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, there's a fucking museum over there. And he's like, I know. That's actually.
I know. That's why we came this way.
That's what your actual surprise is. So they go to the museum. And this is shot or it's at least presented pretty close to one to one to what happens in the game.
Mm-hmm.
They go to the museum, into the space travel exhibit, and Ellie is absolutely spellbound by all of it, because we know that from different things that she's said throughout season 1 and season 2 that she has this strong interest in space travel. Yeah. So they find an interactive model of the solar system that Joel kind of like fixed up so that like you spin the dial,
spin the wheel, and all the planets move, and
right. He takes her to a room that has the Apollo 15 landing capsule, and like at first she just thinks it's for looking, and he's like, "No, motherfucker, you can open that bitch up.
You're gonna climb in there."
But he's like, "First, you need a space helmet."
He hands her a rock and says, "Choose one."
Yeah.
And all around the walls are these displays behind glass windows of spacesuits and helmets. So she fucking picks one of the Gemini suits, fucking chucks the rock at the glass, and pulls out the helmet and pulls it on.
I think it's interesting that she picked the Gemini suit, even though that was much earlier in our space history than Apollo was. However, I mean, Gemini was a 2-man like crew. It's like just 2 guys. Which, by the way, what kind of fucking balls did you have to have back then, where it was still illegal to smoke in restaurants, to be like, "I'm going into space, motherfucker," just with one other guy and this very small helmet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
a lot of faith in the scientists NASA had put together to put that project together.
A lot of confidence.
Yes.
No faith. A lot of confidence. So she breaks the glass. She puts it on. They climb into the capsule, and Joel gives her kind of the centerpiece of this year's gift, which is a cassette tape. And she puts it into her Walkman. She puts her earbuds in, and it's a real life recording of the Apollo 11 mission control recording of the shuttle launch.
Mm-hmm. And there's this beautifully shot and edited sequence where Ellie closes her eyes and all these lights are going on around her as we hear the recordings of the countdown and all that. And it's beautiful. It's a shot inside her imagination of what it would be like to actually go up to space.
Yeah. And we're right there with her for it, which I think is what makes it so special. It is absolutely brilliant. And this is also a magical moment.
This episode should win awards, honestly. Yeah. For a lot of different reasons, some of which we'll come to.
Yeah. This is also a moment that is particularly special in the game. Too, so I'm glad that they did as good of a job with it as they did. So we also catch a tear roll down Joel's face when he realizes how happy Ellie is with it.
It's like, shit, I nailed this one.
Yeah. So on the way back, they're hiking back to Jackson. Something catches Ellie's eye, and she stops, and she kind of stares off into space. And Joel asks her if she's okay, and she hesitates, and she says she's fine. And she puts on a smile.
Yep.
And they continue, and the
camera pans around.
We pan to what she was looking at, which was this like little swarm of fireflies. And I think this is a moment they put in to make sure that we understand. I don't think that Ellie ever actually believed.
I think
Joel.
She always had suspicions at the very least.
I would say that I think she believed that it was bullshit.
Because let's be honest, Joel's story was not very convincing.
It was
based on everything Ellie knew before she was knocked out. Yeah. Like, it doesn't really make sense.
Guys, let's all admit to ourselves, Joel isn't a criminal mastermind.
Not a good liar.
And not a good liar, right? So, yeah. So 1 year later, 17th birthday, he goes to surprise Ellie with a chocolate cake this year. And walks in on Ellie and Kat, who is one of the girls from episode 1 of the season, fooling around.
Yep.
And Joel,
fucking throws Kat out and is like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. Joel takes this about how you'd expect a man that grew up in the '60s in Texas to take it, right? And he's not particularly graceful about it. He doesn't understand what's going on. He says something to her to the effect of, "You don't know what you're saying. We'll talk later when you're more yourself." And Ellie takes as a problem, right?
To put a very slight amount of explanation in this, Ellie and Kat were smoking pot.
Right. That's not. That's in my notes. However,
he goes out of his way to say, "Man, you're just hitting all the teenage rebellion points here. You're doing drugs. You're messing around with girls. You're getting a tattoo."
Right. Yeah, I have in my notes. So he discovers that Kat was giving Ellie a tattoo, and they were smoking weed. So, like, in one day, his daughter practically has hit the trifecta of things to do to freak your parents out.
When you're a rebellious teenager.
Yeah. Tattoo, drugs, gay stuff. Like, if you want to give your parents a heart attack, do all of those things in one day.
All three of our teenage listeners.
Right. By the way, there's a really funny bit where, like, Kat kind of hangs around for a second.
Well, it's because she's like putting her shirt on and cramming all her stuff into the backpack.
Yeah, and she like tries to chime in, and
Joel
like, gives her this look like,
"Fuck out!
No, we're not doing this. Me and you go." And she's like, "I think I'll go." So later that night, Ellie tries to move her mattress into the garage, and Joel does not like this at first. It wakes him up, and he tries to lay down the law.
Well, his explanation at first is it's the middle of the night. It's fucking raining out there. The garage has no electricity or running water.
Yeah.
You're going to stay right the fuck here.
Also, this is my house. The fucking immortal words of every parent ever.
To which Ellie says, "No, it's not your house. The people of Jackson fucking gave you this
We
house.
are a communist society.
Like, you don't own anything."
Right. They gave this to both of us, by the way, motherfucker. So Joel cools down and then concedes that maybe she should have her own space.
Tomorrow, we'll start fixing up the garage, and you can move out there in a few days. But for right now, please just put your mattress back on your bed and go to bed.
Yeah. Things soften between them quite a bit. So it turns out he actually kind of likes a tattoo. He's like, if you're going to get a tattoo, at least it looks like this.
At least it looks good.
Yeah. And he asks her about the moths. And he's like, so it's like, change and growth, right? And Ellie's like, yeah, sure. So Joel harasses Gail while she's eating breakfast.
Yeah, she's just sitting in a diner eating her eggs and reading a book.
Yeah, this is fucking hilarious because she's like you would never approach a professional in the middle of their meal to talk shop and shit, and she's like reading a book and she like closes it and looks at him and she's like, what the fuck, man? Like, come on.
Her exact line is something along the lines of, do I look like I have the doctor is in sign like I'm Lucy from fucking Peanuts?
Right, yeah. So he harasses her about dream interpretation, which, by the way, right off the bat, she's like, that's stupid. It's not real science. Fuck it. And forget everything about it. He's like, okay, but let's say that it actually mattered. Like moths, they mean like change and growth. And she's like, no, that's fucking butterflies. Moths are, death. And he's like, oh. Okay, well, why? And she's like, I've not finished my eggs. Get the fuck out of my face.
Okay, I need to go so as to not be here anymore.
Yeah. So Ellie packs her stuff up and moves into the garage.
Including all her posters and her moth drawings and all of that.
So 2 years later, Ellie now has her own space in the garage, and she's practicing a talk that she hopes to have with Joel. And she's prepared some questions, which are, and these are all questions that will immediately stump Joel, right? Because he's not actually thought that deeply into the lie.
He probably hasn't thought about the lie.
Right, yeah.
Honestly.
If the Fireflies spotted us a mile from the hospital, how did they get surprised by an entire group of raiders? If the raiders could kill all the soldiers and Marlene, and you had to carry me the whole time, how did we get away? And if there are dozens of immune people, why hasn't anyone heard of any others? And you can tell she's put some thought into these questions, and these are questions Joel cannot answer. So Joel takes Ellie out on a practice patrol.
Like, she's rehearsing this, and then, like, while she's going through her questions, like, Joel fucking knocks on the door and interrupts her, and is like, hey, we're going on patrol.
Happy birthday, you get to go on patrol. Yeah.
Let's go kill some zombies.
So, he's, like, showing her the ropes, and he's like, you got to use your binoculars like that. You're holding them backwards, you stupid fuck. And then they get a call on the radio for backup. And some dude named Adam, and then some other dude named Eugene, whose name we've heard before. They're in trouble with some infected. They got ambushed by infected. So Joel tells him to dig in, and he'll be there in 10 minutes. So at first he tells Ellie to go home, but she refuses. She's like,
I'm not your fucking kid. I'm your partner. Let's go save the fucking day.
Also, like, in some states, I'm legal now, I think. So, like, let's go do the business.
Which, this is your weekly reminder that Ellie is a fucking genius. And, like, she's just applying that intelligence to like manipulating Joel into getting what she wants.
She is very emotionally intelligent.
Like in a better timeline, she would be designing spaceships and rockets and shit.
Or she'd be the president or something. Yeah.
But instead, here she is killing zombies.
Yes. So looks like Adam's already dead and being dragged by his horse. They find Eugene, who is played, I can't remember the guy, Pantoliano, the guy who played Cypher in The Matrix. He was
really?
Yes, he was in The Sopranos, a really famous character actor, and really, really good too, who has been bitten.
Yes.
And he doesn't try to hide it right off the bat.
Okay, look, I got bitten.
Yeah.
But I have some time. Can I please just go see my wife one more time? And
His
Joel's
wife,
like,
his wife Gail, who he was talking to in the previous scene.
Joel's like, nope, not happening.
Sorry, that's against protocol, my guy. And
I was like, okay, Joel, can you calm your tits for 1 second? Like, he clearly has at least a little bit of time. Let's just...
Yeah, she does the DUI, like the cordyceps
hold out
test.
your hand,
yeah.
count to 10 slowly.
Yeah.
He does it just fine. She's like, okay, let's just let him go see Gail one last time, and then you can fucking send him to the Backstreet Boys reunion tour.
So Joel agrees.
He's like, okay.
Yep.
I promise.
He tells Ellie,
you go get our horses. I'll keep an eye on him,
and we'll meet on the trail.
Up later.
Yeah, the old dusty trail. Ellie recognizes the look and the tone, and makes Joel promise that they'll bring him back to Gail. And Joel says, "I promise." And you can tell Ellie wants to believe it, right? So she goes off to do what she was told. And Joel takes Eugene to this beautiful spot in the mountains, and Eugene realizes what's happening.
There's this beautiful lake. Yeah. He's like, don't turn around. Just
look at the birds.
Look at the birds.
Right.
Look at the lake. Think about Gail.
So Joel offers to pass along his last words, and he says something to the effect of, I don't need to give her my last words. I need to hear her last words to me. And he wants to see Gail's face because he wants it to be the last thing that he sees. And Joel says, knowingly, if you love someone, you can always see their face. And I'm pretty sure he's talking about his daughter. So Eugene closes, like he kind of like looks off into the distance, and then this another fucking dynamite performance, by the way, where you can see it in real time. He conjures the image of his fucking wife. And he says you can see her, and the camera pulls back. There's no sound.
You just see the birds scatter.
Right. And it's really it's kind of sad and really well done. So they drag his body back. Ellie is very upset.
Furious with Joel, but like coldly furious.
Yeah. So Joel tells her, he's like, hey, we only say what we need to about what happened. Like it's kind of the best thing to do. We don't want to upset anyone. We don't want to upset Gail. So Joel tries to give Gail a comforting lie about his death, and it works. By the way, he's like, he
got bit. He
owned up to it immediately.
He said to tell you he loves you, and he was very brave, and he did it himself at the end.
Right. Ellie immediately fucking tells on him.
Well, he waits until Gail is hugging Joel for comfort before she says, no, that's all bullshit, actually.
That's a lie.
Joel fucking lied to me, and then offed Eugene himself.
Yeah. Gail gives him a good old fucking slap in the face. And now we understand why that conversation that Gail and Joel have in the first episode.
Episode 1 was very awkward.
Yeah, it's very... Now we know what that resentment comes from.
The tragedy, because we've talked a lot about Ellie's tragedy and how she's building for herself. The tragedy of Joel is that he always has the best of intentions.
Right.
Like, the entire show has been nothing but Joel with the best of intentions,
trying to protect his own,
and everything blowing up in his face.
Yes.
The thing with the Fireflies, he has to. He finds that he values Ellie's life, so he saves her. This with Eugene and Gail, like, first off, he doesn't want to risk Eugene infecting anyone else, which, okay, good enough. And with Gail, he's trying to, make her happy and spare her from the anger and grief that would come if she knew the truth. So he tells the lie. And like every time he does this thing out of the goodness of his heart, it blows up on him.
Yeah. And here's the thing too, is that the lie that he told was probably the more moral thing to do. And Ellie's big hang up is that Joel promised and lied. And I don't think I think that if he would have been like, we're not doing that, and just shot him there and didn't lie, I don't think she would have contradicted his story. But I think
she would have taken it better for sure. Ellie, number one, has this hang up because she's pretty sure Joel's lying about the Fireflies, but number two,
and this confirms it, because like, I mean, he promised her in the same way that he promised about the Fireflies, so like she kind of knows.
But number two, a lot of teenagers have this thing where they're very hung up on the truth. You know, I want the truth,
right? Yeah,
and
because teenagers are idiots,
and they get kind of caught up on the idea that they can't always have the truth from everyone,
right? So we're back at the New Year's Eve party, and we see it from Joel's POV. Tommy takes his kid home, and he tells Joel, "I'll see you next year." And you're just like, "No, don't leave. Spend more time with him, please." We see Joel's attack on Seth, and later he goes home, and he plays Ellie's guitar on his porch. And Ellie walks past him, just like in the previous episode, but then she doubles back and talks to Joel. Which I have in my notes, by the way. My theory was mostly correct. Yeah. Because I think my full theory was that in the game, that's when he sings the Pearl Jam tune to her.
I have a question for you about this scene. How close is it to the game? Is it like shot for shot? Is it like broad strokes?
It's actually very close, and interestingly, is the last scene of the game.
Huh.
Yeah, of the second game.
Okay.
Yeah. Extraordinarily powerful scene. And so Joel kind of signals his acceptance of Ellie's sexuality, saying that like Dina would be lucky to have her. And Ellie answers, "You're such an asshole." And says,
Joel's like, "I was just trying to be nice. What the hell?"
Right. Ellie confronts Joel about what happened and was like, "I'm going to ask you one last time about this Fireflies thing, and I'm going to give you one last chance to tell me the truth." And he admits what happened, but it's in the most heartbreaking way.
Well, what happens is that she asks him questions,
and he doesn't say anything.
Yeah, he can only just nod or shake his head, and like his.
Hold on. So the questions, she starts off with, were there other immune people? Which he shakes his head, and with every question, he's getting more and more upset.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he has any guilt. We'll find out here in a second. He has any guilt about what he did. I think he's upset at having let Ellie down.
Yeah.
He says, "Were there raiders?" And he shakes his head no. And then she says, "Could they have made a cure?" And he shakes his head yes. And then she doesn't ask the full question. She says, "Did you?" And he shakes his head yes. And then she says, "And Marlene?" And he shakes his head yes. And he is barely holding it together. I mean, he's got tears
falling down his face. Pedro Pascal is working all the muscles of his face to just.
This is an Emmy worthy performance. It's just fucking brilliant. Out of this world.
He is breaking down.
Yeah. So Ellie says that her life would have had meaning, that he took that away from her, and that he took it away from everyone. And Joel answers like, "If I had a second chance and I could go back, I would do the same exact thing again, because I love you in ways that you cannot understand. And if you should ever have one of your own, I hope you do a little better than me." And then everyone's watching the TV like, "Why do you have to say that?"
Poetic, and it's just
it just leaves you fucking like, if you're going into these episodes with like in good faith, and you're not here just to shit on Bella Ramsey because you don't like non-binary people. Like, you can't walk away from a scene like this without being like, holy shit. Because it isn't just Pedro Pascal carrying the scene. Bella Ramsey's performance is really, really good too. Yeah. So Ellie says that she'll never be able to forgive him, but she would like to try. And you can see this this hope with Joel, that he relaxes a little bit, and he realizes that there's a good chance that they can repair, what he broke. So we switch to present day Ellie, who's moving through the rainy night of Seattle.
It's raining in Seattle. Surprise, surprise.
She is just, I imagine, tortured and sent to the Backstreet Boys reunion tour, Nora.
Mm-hmm. And she's on her way back to the theater.
And why is she on her way back to the theater? Because she has more wolves to find.
Yes.
And she is... she's in Kill Bill mode. and nothing is going to stop this girl's revenge tour.
Also, Dina got shot through the leg with an arrow,
Right.
and she's probably a little bit concerned about that.
Right. Yeah, and then like who
And
the fuck?
like Jesse and Tommy,
Right,
were
where
gonna
the
meet
fuck's
up with them
Tommy?
there.
And right. So it's the end of the episode. Brilliant. I think most of, like I think like maybe last week's episode it was like, okay, like it's
this
fine.
was up there with the
Except for the end. The end was
Bill and Frank.
Yeah.
Bill and Frank episode.
Yeah, it was. There have been a couple of episodes like that this season. The second episode, the one where Joel dies, was also really emotionally charged. Like I said, if you're going into the show in good faith, and you're not here to just bitch about whatever your political tribe has demanded you bitch about,
it's a good show.
It's objectively amazing. And even when it differs from the game, it's still very good. So, try to enjoy shit, guys. Don't be mad at people for being non-binary. That shit's just stupid. That is it for today. We will be back tomorrow at 7 o'clock Central with some Battlefront. Hope to see you guys there.